Commander Adam Wright stood at the edge of the vast Galactic Council chamber, trying not to look impressed. He was the newest ambassador from Earth, representing the youngest species in the room. The chamber stretched wider than 3 football fields with seats arranged in rising tiers. Over 300 different alien species had gathered here for their 100-year meeting. Adam adjusted his blue uniform and checked his tablet one more time. Earth had only joined the Galactic Council 5 years ago. Many of the older species still looked at humans as children who had stumbled into space by accident. At the center of the room, Council President Zenthar rose from his seat. He was tall, almost 9 feet, with a body that looked like walking crystal. When he moved, light bounced off him in rainbow patterns. His voice boomed through the chamber with no need for a microphone. The Council will now discuss the growing crisis in the Orion sector, Zenthar announced. A large screen behind him showed a swirling purple-blue mass in space. This quantum anomaly has grown 20% in the last standard year. It threatens 14 inhabited worlds. The room filled with concerned whispers. Adam watched as the delegates from major powers leaned forward in their seats. Our best scientists have studied this anomaly for 23 years, Zenthar continued. We have found no way to stop or contain it. We must now begin planning for the complete evacuation of all 14 worlds. The chamber erupted with voices. A tall, blue-skinned alien stood and raised 3 of her 6 hands. The Ventaxian Union cannot possibly accommodate more refugees. Our resources are already stretched thin from the last relocation. Another delegate, a small round being covered in short green fur, bounced in place as he spoke. My government can accept 10,000 refugees, but no more. And we must be selective about which species we take. Adam listened quietly as the debate continued. Species argued about who would take in refugees, how much it would cost, and which planets should be evacuated first. No one was talking about actually solving the problem. They had all accepted that 14 worlds would be lost. He looked at his tablet again, reviewing the data on the anomaly. Earth scientists had been working on somewhat similar problems, though on a much smaller scale. He tapped a message to his team back on Earth, sending the data and asking for their thoughts. When a small break came in the discussion, Adam raised his hand. It took nearly 2 minutes before Zenthar noticed him. The Council recognizes the representative from Earth, the crystal being said, his tone suggesting mild surprise. Adam stood. Thank you, President Zenthar. Earth would like to study this anomaly directly. We've been developing technology that might help contain this kind of phenomenon. For 3 heartbeats, the chamber was completely silent. Then several delegates began to laugh. Not all species laughed like humans, but the meaning was clear. Admiral Zoe of the Valerian Empire stood up. His skin was deep purple, and a ridge of small horns ran along his skull. The Valerians had been spacefaring for 50,000 years. With all respect to our young human friends, Zoe said, not bothering to hide his condescension, your species has barely figured out stable warp travel. This anomaly has confused our greatest scientific minds for decades. What could humans possibly bring to this problem? Adam didn't flinch. He had expected this reaction. We don't claim to have all the answers, Admiral, but sometimes a fresh perspective can be useful. If the Council permits, we would like to send a research vessel. If nothing else, we could help with evacuation efforts. Zenthar tapped his crystalline fingers on the podium. The Council appreciates Earth's enthusiasm. You may send 1 vessel to observe and assist with evacuation, but I caution you against approaching the anomaly itself. It has destroyed 3 of our most advanced research ships already. Adam bowed slightly. Thank you, President. Earth appreciates the opportunity to help. As the meeting continued, plans were made for the evacuation. Species argued about which refugees they would accept. Some worlds would only take refugees similar to their own kind. Others demanded payment or trade deals in exchange for helping. Adam sat quietly, making notes and sending messages back to Earth. When the Council finally took a break, he stepped into a small side room and activated his secure communicator. General Peter Scott appeared on the screen, sitting in his office at Earth Space Command. They approved our request to send a ship, Adam said. The general nodded. Good. How did they react? Exactly as we expected. They laughed. They think we're naive. Perfect. The general smiled slightly. What did you tell them we're sending? A research vessel to observe and help with evacuation. Well, that's technically true, the general said. USS Horizon is classified as a research vessel. Adam lowered his voice even though the room was secure. Is Project Prometheus ready? Dr. Kelly says it has a 70% chance of working based on simulations. Those are better odds than we usually get. Adam nodded. The council has already given up. They're fighting over who has to take in refugees instead of trying to solve the actual problem. Typical, the general said. They've been the big dogs in the galaxy so long they've forgotten how to fight. When's the last time they faced a real challenge they couldn't talk their way out of? That's what happens when your civilization is stable for 30,000 years, Adam said. You forget how to adapt. A soft tone indicated the council session would resume soon. Adam straightened his uniform. I'll send the official request for USS Horizon to join the evacuation fleet. Have Captain Bennett prepare for immediate departure. Already. Done, the general said. Bennett picked her crew last week, the best we have. Does she understand the risks? The general laughed. It was her idea, son. She came to us with the initial concept for Project Prometheus, said she got tired of listening to the council talk about what couldn't be done. Adam smiled. That sounds like Laura, always making the rest of us look bad. The council is about to find out how humans handle problems, the general said. Good luck, Ambassador. The communication ended. Adam took a deep breath and returned to the chamber. The other species continued their debates about refugee placements and resource allocation. None of them paid any attention to the human in the corner, quietly sending a message that would change everything. Request approved. USS Horizon preparing for departure. Project Prometheus is go. 3 days later, Captain Laura Bennett received her final orders. She gathered her senior crew in the briefing room of the USS Horizon. The ship looked like a standard research vessel from the outside. Inside, it contained Earth's most advanced experimental technology. Ladies and gentlemen, Laura said to her team, we have been authorized to proceed with Project Prometheus. The official story is that we're going to observe and assist with evacuation efforts. Unofficially, we're going to solve the problem that 300 other species have given up on. She looked at each of her crew members. This mission carries significant risk. The council doesn't think we can do this. They think we're too young, too inexperienced. They've written off 14 worlds as a lost cause. Laura smiled. Let's go show them how humans deal with impossible problems. The USS Horizon moved through space with quiet purpose. From the outside, it looked like an ordinary research vessel. Inside, 50 of Earth's best minds worked around the clock as they approached the Orion sector. Captain Laura Bennett stood on the bridge watching the main screen. The quantum anomaly grew larger by the hour. It swirled with purple and blue energy, beautiful, but deadly. How long until we reach the outer edge of the affected zone? Laura asked. Lieutenant Sam Miller looked up from his navigation console. 4 hours, Captain. The council evacuation ships are already in the area. Laura nodded. Keep us out of their direct path. We don't need them asking too many questions yet. Science Officer Olivia Garcia worked at her station, her dark eyes fixed on the readings. Captain, these energy patterns are unlike anything in our database. The anomaly is growing faster than the council reported. How much faster? Laura asked. Almost 30%. At this rate, the first inhabited world will be hit in 10 days, not 2 weeks. Laura frowned. That doesn't give the evacuation ships much time. From the communication station, Diana White turned in her chair. Captain, I've been monitoring their channels. It's chaos out there. The evacuation is not going well. Put it on screen, Laura ordered. The main screen split to show several feeds from nearby planets. People of various alien species crowded around spaceports. Some carried children or dragged small bags of belongings. Guards held back angry crowds as ships took off, many only half full. They're only taking certain people, Diana explained. Those with specific skills or resources, or those who can pay. Laura's jaw tightened. How many will be left behind? Based on current evacuation rates? Olivia checked her console. About 80% of the total population. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. Over 1 billion sentient beings would be abandoned to die if the anomaly wasn't stopped. Send a message to the engineering deck, Laura said. Tell Chief Carter I need to see him and his team in the conference room immediately. 10 minutes later, Laura sat at the head of the conference table. Chief Engineer Joe Carter spread out digital diagrams in the air above the table. The Project Prometheus plans glowed blue in the dim light. The system has 3 main parts, Joe explained. First, these satellites. He pointed to small hexagonal devices. They create a resonance field that should stabilize the outer edge of the anomaly. Should? Asked Sam Miller. We've never tested this in real conditions, Joe admitted. The lab simulations are promising, but this anomaly is much larger than anything we've created artificially. Laura nodded. Continue. The satellites form a network around the anomaly. Once activated, they generate a quantum field that counteracts the destabilizing effect. Joe manipulated the diagram to show a dome of energy surrounding the swirling mass. In theory, this will cause the anomaly to contract back in on itself. And if the theory is wrong, asked Olivia. Joe hesitated. Then at best, nothing happens. At worst, he didn't finish the sentence. At worst, we accelerate the process and 14 worlds die sooner rather than later, Laura said bluntly. I've read all the reports. I know the risks. A new voice spoke from the doorway. As do I, which is why this mission is foolhardy. They all turned to see a thin, blue-skinned alien enter the room. Krell was the Ventaxian observer assigned by the Galactic Council to monitor the human mission. His large eyes blinked rapidly as he joined them at the table. Observer Krell? Laura acknowledged him with a nod. I wasn't aware you were invited to this meeting. I wasn't, the alien said. But when I detected unusual energy readings from your engineering section, I became concerned. What is this Project Prometheus? Laura exchanged glances with her crew. The Council wasn't supposed to know about their true mission yet. It's a theoretical approach to containing quantum disruptions, she said carefully. We're discussing possibilities. Krell's eyes narrowed. Captain Bennett, my species has studied quantum physics for millennia. If there was a solution to this anomaly, we would have found it. Perhaps, Laura said. But humans have a different way of looking at problems. Different doesn't mean better, Krell said. The Council was clear. Your mission is to observe and assist with evacuation only. Laura stood up slowly. Observer Krell, have you seen the evacuation efforts? The alien blinked. Of course, they are proceeding according to protocol. They're leaving billions behind to die, Laura said flatly. Is that acceptable to you? It is unfortunate, Krell admitted, but the Council has determined this is the best course of action given the circumstances. Laura looked at each member of her crew before returning her gaze to Krell. On Earth, we have a saying. When all other options fail, when experts give up, sometimes you need someone stubborn enough to say, I'm fine, I'll deal with it. She turned to Joe. Chief, begin deployment of the satellite network. Maintain a safe distance from the anomaly perimeter. Captain, Krell protested, you're exceeding your authority. I'm trying to save lives, Laura replied calmly. You can report me to the Council if you wish. But by then we'll either have succeeded or failed. The alien's blue skin darkened with emotion. This is why younger species need supervision. You act without considering all consequences. Actually, Laura said, we've considered the consequences quite thoroughly. Billions die if we do nothing. Billions might be saved if we act. That math isn't complicated. She dismissed the meeting. As her crew filed out, Laura stayed behind with Krell. Observer, you're welcome to stay and witness our efforts. Or you can return to your quarters. But Project Prometheus will proceed. Krell stared at her. You humans are impossibly arrogant, or impossibly brave. I'm not sure which. Laura smiled slightly. Probably both. 6 hours later, The USS Horizon positioned itself near the edge of the anomaly. Other ships in the area took notice. Several council vessels sent messages demanding to know what the humans were doing. Laura ignored them all. On the bridge, she watched as the first wave of satellites launched from the cargo bay. Deployment at 20%, reported Joe from engineering. All units showing green status. On the main screen, small dots of light moved into position around the massive anomaly. They looked tiny and fragile against the swirling energy. "Captain," Diana called from communications. "We're receiving direct orders from Admiral Zoe to cease all activities immediately. He says we're violating council directives." Laura stood in the center of the bridge, calm amid the growing tension. "Send him my regards and inform him that we're conducting authorized scientific observations." "That's not entirely truthful," Krell noted from where he stood near the back of the bridge. Laura glanced at him. "Actually, it is. We're authorized to be here. We're conducting scientific observations. We're just doing a bit more than that as well." A small alarm sounded from Olivia's station. "Captain, the anomaly is reacting to the satellite network. Energy patterns are shifting." The crew watched as the swirling mass seemed to pulse. The purple-blue light flickered and changed shade. "Is that supposed to happen?" Sam asked nervously. Joe's voice came through the comm. "It's recognizing the resonance field. That's good. Deployment continuing, now at 40%. A new message appeared on the screen. Admiral Zoe's purple face looked furious. "Captain Bennett, you will cease this unauthorized activity immediately. Your ship is not equipped to handle quantum manipulation on this scale." Laura straightened her uniform and faced the screen. "Admiral, with all due respect, you've already decided these worlds are lost. Earth isn't ready to accept that yet. We're implementing a potential solution." "A solution?" Zoe looked genuinely shocked. "Your species has been spacefaring for less than a century." "Sometimes," Laura replied calmly. "Fresh eyes see what experienced ones miss. Bennett out." She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. "Let's continue. We have 14 worlds counting on us." The USS Horizon hummed with nervous energy as the satellite network reached 70% deployment. On the bridge, Captain Laura Bennett watched the main screen with unwavering focus. The quantum anomaly pulsed with strange rhythms now, responding to the human technology surrounding it. "Satellite Cluster 5 is in position," reported Joe Carter from engineering. "All resonance fields stable and synchronized." Olivia Garcia studied her science console. "The anomaly's expansion has slowed by 18%. "It's working, Captain." A small cheer went up from the crew. Laura allowed herself a brief smile before raising her hand for quiet. "We're not done yet," she reminded them. "We need full deployment and activation of the containment field." From his position at the back of the bridge, Observer Krell watched with obvious amazement. The blue-skinned alien moved closer to Laura. "I did not think this possible," he admitted quietly. "Our scientists declared this anomaly untreatable." "Different approaches yield different results," Laura said. "Human technology might be younger than yours, but we've had to solve problems quickly to survive." The ship suddenly rocked sideways. Warning lights flashed across several consoles. "What was that?" Laura demanded. Sam Miller checked his navigation screens. "Council vessels approaching, Captain. 3 Valerian warships led by Admiral Zoe. They've locked weapons on us," Diana reported from communications. "The Admiral is demanding we power down all systems immediately." Laura clenched her jaw. "Put him on screen." Admiral Zoe's purple face appeared, his expression stern. "Captain Bennett, you have ignored council directives and deployed unauthorized technology. Power down and prepare to be boarded." "Admiral," Laura replied calmly, "our technology is working. The anomaly's expansion has slowed significantly. If you give us time to complete the deployment, you risk destabilizing the entire sector." Zoe interrupted. "The Council has ordered this experiment terminated." Laura stepped forward. "With respect, Admiral, billions of lives are at stake. We have a real chance to save them." "At what cost?" Zoe demanded. "Your untested technology could accelerate the disaster. Your ship will stand down now, or we will Disable it. The transmission ended. Laura turned to her crew. Options? She asked. We could try reasoning with them, Diana suggested. Explain our data. Joe shook his head. They've had our data for days. They don't want to listen. We could retreat, Sam offered reluctantly. Live to fight another day. Laura walked slowly around the bridge, thinking. How much longer to complete deployment? 30 minutes for full deployment, Joe said. Another 15 to activate the complete resonance field. And if we're interrupted halfway through? Joe hesitated. The partial network could destabilize. Might make things worse. Laura nodded. So retreating now means abandoning those 14 worlds. The ship shook again as a warning shot passed close to their bow. Captain, Diana called. I'm receiving transmissions from the evacuation zones. The people being left behind have heard about our attempt. They're calling us their last hope. Laura stood still for a moment, then straightened her shoulders. Sam, plot a course deeper into the anomaly's perimeter. The Valerian ships won't follow us there. Captain? Sam looked shocked. The perimeter is highly unstable. Our shields might not hold. They'll hold, Laura said firmly. Joe, prepare for rapid deployment of the remaining satellites once we're inside the perimeter. Krell stepped forward. Captain Bennett, this is beyond reckless. No ship has survived direct approach to the anomaly. Then we'll be the first, Laura replied. She addressed her crew. I won't order anyone to take this risk. If anyone wishes to use the escape pods, now is the time. The bridge remained silent. No one moved. Laura nodded with pride. Take us in, Lieutenant Miller. The USS Horizon turned and accelerated toward the swirling edge of the anomaly. On their sensors, the 3 Valerian warships hesitated, then began pursuit. They're still coming, Sam reported, sounding surprised. They won't follow us past the outer boundary, Laura predicted. Even Admiral Zoe isn't that dedicated to stopping us. The ship passed through the first layers of energy. The hull vibrated as strange forces pulled at their shields. Shield strength at 87%, Olivia reported, holding steady. As Laura had predicted, the Valerian ship slowed and then stopped well short of the boundary. Admiral Zoe sent one final message. Your sacrifice will be noted in Council records. Laura didn't bother to respond. Deploy the remaining satellites, maximum speed. Joe's team worked frantically in engineering while the rest of the crew monitored the ship's systems. The final satellites launched in rapid succession, taking their positions around the anomaly. Network deployment complete, Joe finally announced. Ready to activate the resonance field. Laura took a deep breath. Do it. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then gradually, the swirling purple-blue mass began to contract. It's working, Olivia exclaimed. The anomaly is collapsing in on itself. Relief swept through the bridge. But their celebration was premature. Alarms blared as new readings came in. Energy levels are spiking, Olivia reported urgently. The collapse is happening too quickly. The ship rocked violently. Hull integrity at 75%, Sam called out. The gravitational forces are intensifying. Laura gripped her chair. Joe, what's happening? The resonance field is too strong, he replied, his voice tense. Instead of stabilizing the anomaly, we're causing it to collapse too fast. If it continues this way, it could trigger a quantum implosion. Which means, Laura asked, though she suspected the answer. It could take out half the sector instantly, Joe confirmed. We need to modify the satellites to slow the collapse rate. Can we do that remotely? There was a pause. No, Captain, the quantum interference is too strong. Someone would need to take a shuttle and manually adjust the main control satellite. The bridge fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. A shuttle would be even more vulnerable to the anomaly's forces than their ship. Laura stood up. Prepare a shuttle, I'll go. Captain, Sam protested immediately. The regulations clearly state. I know what the regulations state, Laura cut him off. But I'm the most qualified pilot on board. She turned to Olivia. You have the con. If I'm not back in 30 minutes, take the Horizon to a safe distance. As Laura headed for the shuttle bay, Krell followed her. "Captain Bennett, this is suicide." Laura kept walking. "Maybe. But where I come from, we don't give up just because something is difficult." "This isn't difficulty," Krell insisted. "This is impossible." Laura stopped and faced the alien. "You know what's truly impossible for humans to accept? Standing by while billions die when we might be able to save them." She entered the shuttle alone and launched into the heart of the anomaly. As the small craft disappeared from conventional sensors, the crew of the Horizon held their breath. Outside the anomaly's perimeter, council ships gathered in growing numbers. Word had spread quickly about the humans' reckless attempt to solve the unsolvable. Some came to witness what they believed would be a tragic failure. Others came with growing hope that the impossible might actually happen. Inside the anomaly, Laura piloted her shuttle through swirling energy that no human had ever seen up close. The main control satellite floated ahead, a small hexagonal device that held the fate of 14 worlds. "I'm approaching the control node," she reported, her voice breaking up through the interference. "Beginning manual override of the resonance parameters." Back on the Horizon, the crew could barely make out her words through the static. 20 minutes since launch, Diana noted quietly. Olivia kept her eyes fixed on the readings. "The anomalies. Collapse has slowed slightly. Whatever the captain is doing, it's having an effect." The minutes ticked by in tense silence. Then, just as they were about to give up hope, a faint signal came through. "Horizon field stabilized, returning. Prepare medical." Relief flooded the bridge as Sam detected the shuttle emerging from the edge of the now contained anomaly. The small craft showed significant damage but was intact. "She did it," Olivia breathed, watching as the anomaly continued to shrink at a controlled rate. Captain Bennett actually did it. On the main screen, they could see the council ships moving. Closer, their sensors all focused on the unprecedented sight, a quantum anomaly that was not just contained, but actually being reversed. As the crew prepared to retrieve their captain, Diana looked up from her communications console with a smile. "Beside, council ships are hailing us," she reported. "They're asking how we did it." News of what happened in the Orion sector spread across Galactic Council communication networks at light speed. The major powers had already accepted that the 14 worlds were lost. They had made plans for refugees, divided resources, and prepared for a new political reality. Then came reports that humans, the newest and least advanced council species, had not only approached the deadly anomaly, but had actually found a way to contain it. In the Grand Council chamber, emergency meetings were called. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered to discuss what this meant. "This is precisely why younger species need proper supervision," declared Admiral Zoe. His purple face looked darker than usual with anger. These humans risked destabilizing the entire region with their recklessness. Council President Zenthar raised his crystalline hand for silence. "Our monitoring stations confirm the anomaly is now contracting at a steady rate. The 14 worlds are no longer in danger." He paused. "The human technology appears to be working." "Impossible," said the representative from Arcturian space. She was tall and thin with skin that shifted colors as she spoke. "Our best scientists ran simulations for decades without finding a solution. And yet," said Zenthar, "the humans found one in months." Meanwhile, aboard the USS Horizon, Laura Bennett rested in the medical bay. The shuttle journey had left her with 3 broken ribs, radiation burns, and a deep cut on her leg that would leave a permanent scar. Dr. Alan Foster worked beside her bed, checking readings on his medical scanner. "You should be resting, Captain," he scolded as Laura reached for a data tablet. "I've been resting for 2 days," she replied. "How's the containment field holding?" "Perfectly stable," said Olivia Garcia as she entered the medical bay. "The anomaly has decreased to 30% of its original size and continues to shrink. At this rate, it will be completely gone in 2 weeks." Laura smiled, then winced as her ribs protested. "And the council ships?" "They're maintaining position around us," Olivia reported. 27 vessels at last count. Admiral Zoe's flagship is still closest. They've been sending requests to inspect our technology every 3 hours. I bet they have, Laura said dryly. The door opened again, and observer Krell entered. The blue-skinned alien looked different somehow. Less stiff, more thoughtful. Captain Bennett, he said, bowing slightly. I bring a message from the council. They request your presence at an emergency session as soon as you are able to travel. To yell at me for breaking the rules, I assume, Laura said. Krell's mouth twitched in what might have been a smile. Perhaps, but also to understand how you did the impossible. Laura looked at Dr. Foster. When can I travel? 3 more days minimum, the doctor insisted. Your body needs time to heal. We'll depart in 2, Laura decided. Joe can continue monitoring the containment field from here. Across the sector, other species watched the unfolding situation with great interest. The Dronoth, an ancient species that rarely interacted with the Council, dispatched observer ships to monitor the human vessel. The Collective, a machine intelligence that had evolved beyond organic life, began running new simulations that incorporated human behavior patterns. On Earth, military and scientific leaders gathered in a secure facility beneath the old United Nations building in New York. General Frank Nelson paced the floor while scientists analyzed real-time data from the horizon. If Bennett's gamble pays off completely, said Dr. Patricia Morgan, this changes everything about our position in the Council. It already has, replied General Nelson. They've been treating us like children since first contact. Now they're afraid of what else we might be able to do. The communication screen activated with an incoming transmission from Ambassador Adam Wright at the Council headquarters. His expression mixed pride and concern. The Council is in complete disarray, he reported. Half of them are convinced we're about to cause a catastrophe. The other half can't believe what they're seeing. But they're all paying attention to us. Now? And Admiral Zoe? Asked the general. Adam smiled thinly. Let's just say he's reviewing his assessment of human capabilities. 4 days later, Captain Laura Bennett stood before the full Galactic Council. She still walked with a slight limp, but she refused any visible support. Joe Carter, Olivia Garcia, and the rest of the senior crew stood behind her. Genthar addressed the assembly. We have confirmed that the Orion anomaly has been reduced to less than 15% of its original size. All 14 worlds that were scheduled for evacuation are now safe. He turned his crystalline face toward Laura. The Council wishes to understand how your species accomplished this feat. Laura stepped forward. Project Prometheus uses quantum entanglement fields to create a stabilizing network. The basic theory was developed by Dr. Jack Rivera at Earth Science Academy 5 years ago. Why was this technology not shared with the Council when Earth joined? Asked Admiral Zoe. Because it was purely theoretical until recently, Laura answered honestly. Most of our own scientists considered it too experimental and dangerous to test. So you tested it on a crisis affecting billions of lives? Zoe's tone was accusatory. We tested it because billions of lives were at stake, Laura corrected. When the alternative is certain death, risks become acceptable. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Many species found the human approach disturbing, even as they acknowledged its success. A representative from the Tellarite Federation, a species known for their logical approach, spoke next. Captain Bennett, your actions violated numerous Council protocols for crisis management. Yes, Laura agreed simply. And you would do so again? The Tellarite asked. If the alternative was standing by while billions died? Yes, we would. The chamber erupted in voices. Some called for sanctions against Earth for their reckless behavior. Others suggested the humans should be rewarded for solving a crisis the Council had deemed hopeless. Ambassador Adam Wright joined Laura at the center of the chamber. The question isn't whether we broke your protocols, he said. The question is whether those protocols served their purpose. 14 worlds are safe today because we were willing to try something new. As the debate continued, Laura noticed representatives from various species watching her with new interest. Some approached after the session, expressing quiet gratitude or curiosity about human methods. Most surprising was a visit from a Dronoth emissary. The Dranath rarely showed themselves in public, preferring to work through intermediaries. The tall, gray-skinned being approached Laura directly. "Your species approaches problems differently," they observed. "When others see insurmountable obstacles, you see opportunities." Laura smiled diplomatically. "We're just practical. Sometimes all a problem needs is someone willing to roll up their sleeves and deal with it." Later, in a private meeting room, Laura met with Adam and General Nelson, who had traveled from Earth for the occasion. "The Council has approved our proposal to establish a special division for handling spatial anomalies," Adam reported, "with human leadership. And what they're not saying," added Laura, "is that they're terrified of what else we might be able to solve that they've deemed impossible." Nelson nodded. "That's exactly the point. For centuries, they've approached the galaxy through caution and consensus. We've shown them something different." "The human approach," Adam said with a slight smile. As news of what happened in the Orion sector spread, attitudes toward humans shifted dramatically. Species that had dismissed humanity as primitive now sent diplomatic envoys to Earth. Trade proposals increased threefold. Military strategists in several major powers began revising their assessments of human capabilities. Most significantly, 3 previously unknown quantum anomalies were reported to the Council, along with specific requests for human assistance. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. When humans say, "Fine, I'll deal with it," pay attention, because they just might succeed where everyone else has failed. 6 months after the Orion incident, the Great Chamber of the Galactic Council looked different. The seating had been rearranged. Earth's delegation now sat much closer to the center, a small change that carried big meaning in council politics. Captain Laura Bennett stood beside Ambassador Adam Wright. Her uniform was decorated with a new medal, created by the Council itself, the Star of Orion. She still walked with a slight limp, a permanent reminder of her journey into the anomaly. Council President Zen Thar called the session to order. His crystalline body reflected light across the chamber as he moved. "Today we formally recognize the complete resolution of the Orion crisis," he announced. "The quantum anomaly has been fully neutralized. All 14 worlds remain safe and stable." Applause rippled through the chamber. Even species that had criticized the human methods now acknowledged the results. Admiral Zoe spoke next, his tone notably more respectful than before. "The Council's Science Division has studied the human Prometheus technology extensively. We confirm its effectiveness." He paused. "However, we maintain concerns about its development outside established safety protocols." Adam stepped forward. "Earth understands these concerns. We have prepared full documentation on Project Prometheus for the Council archives. We welcome collaborative research with other species." What Adam didn't mention was that Earth had already developed improved versions of the technology. In the months since the incident, human engineers had made the process more efficient and less dangerous. The original satellites, still containing the last remnants of the Orion anomaly, were already outdated. Across the galaxy, opinions about humans had changed dramatically. Species that had ignored Earth now sent trade delegations. Military powers that had dismissed humans as weak now watched them carefully. 3 ancient species had even requested permanent human representatives on their own governing bodies. Most telling of all, when 3 new quantum anomalies were discovered in distant sectors, the affected worlds didn't call for the Council's help. They called for humans directly. After the formal session ended, Laura found herself approached by representatives from many species. Some offered thanks, others tried to recruit her. A few even attempted to learn the secret of human problem-solving. The Dranath emissary approached again, the tall gray being moved with strange grace. "Captain Bennett," they said in their musical voice, "my government wishes to establish direct diplomatic ties with Earth." Laura raised her eyebrows. The Dranath were famously isolated. They rarely formed direct relationships with younger species. "We would be honored," she replied carefully. "Your approach to problems fascinates us," the Dranath continued. "When faced with the impossible, most species accept limitations. Humans push through them. Laura smiled. We're stubborn that way. Later, in a private meeting room, Laura sat with Adam and General Nelson. Large windows showed the gleaming towers of the council capital city. Earth has received 17 requests for help with various crises this month alone, Adam reported. Everything from climate collapse to disease outbreaks. All problems that the requesting worlds claim their own scientists cannot solve. Laura sipped her drink. They expect miracles now. They expect human determination, General Nelson corrected. The council operates by consensus and caution. If a problem seems too hard, they create committees to manage the consequences rather than solve the root cause. And now they've seen another way, Adam added. Laura placed her glass down. So what happens next? The council has approved our proposal to establish a human emergency response division, Adam said. They're calling it HERD for short. Laura made a face. Terrible name. Agreed. We'll change it, Adam smiled. But the important part is that humans will have official authority to intervene in crises across council space. With council oversight, I assume? Laura asked. General Nelson snorted. Officially, yes. In practice, they'll stay out of our way as long as we keep solving their unsolvable problems. Laura looked out the window at the alien city. 6 months ago, they laughed at us for even suggesting we could help. Things change, Adam said simply. Back on Earth, changes were happening quickly. New ships were being built with Prometheus technology, already installed. Training programs for crisis response teams had thousands of applicants. Earth's best scientific minds were tackling problems that the Council had labeled unsolvable for centuries. In schools across Earth, children learned about Captain Bennett and the USS Horizon. The mission was already becoming legend, how a human ship saved 14 worlds when the most advanced species had given up hope. 1 week later, Laura stood on the observation deck of a new ship, the USS Resolve. It was larger than the Horizon, built specifically for crisis response. She had been offered command but had declined. Her new role as Director of Emergency Response would keep her coordinating multiple teams. Nervous about the new assignment? Asked Joe Carter, who had just arrived on deck. The engineer had accepted promotion to captain of the Resolve. Not nervous, Laura said. Just aware of the expectations. The galaxy is watching us now. Let them watch, Joe said confidently. We'll keep doing what humans do best, fixing problems. Speaking of problems, Laura pulled up a holographic display. We have reports of a strange temporal distortion in the Cygnus region. 3 inhabited worlds affected. The local species have already requested Earth's help specifically. Joe studied the data. Looks complicated. What do the council scientists say? That it's impossible to fix. They're already planning evacuations. Joe grinned. Of course they are. He gestured to the ship around them. Good thing we specialize in impossible. As the new fleet of human response vessels prepared for their missions across the galaxy, a quiet change was happening in how species communicated. When facing truly difficult problems, the phrase "we need humans" began to enter common usage. In secure communications between elder races, new protocols were established. When humans say they'll deal with something, prepare for change. The galaxy had learned to pay attention, and occasionally it locked down. Aboard the USS Resolve, Joe Carter gave final orders to his crew as they prepared to depart. Our mission is to help, not to show off. But never forget what Captain Bennett taught us all. Sometimes the only thing standing between disaster and solution is someone stubborn enough to say, "Fine, I'll deal with it." His crew finished in unison. As the ship entered warp, Laura watched from the station above. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy not through superior technology or ancient wisdom, but through determination and refusal to accept defeat. The USS Resolve disappeared into the stars, carrying the human approach to yet another impossible problem. Laura smiled to herself. The galaxy would never be the same again, and that was perfectly fine with her.